Good morning and welcome to yet another new in-box engine video. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this is new in-box engine video number 5, 4. I'll have to consult. Either way, what you'll see is the correct number on the title of the video. Today's engine is probably not going to surprise too many people. This is probably one of the most iconic two-stroke engines ever made. And as soon as I show you what the box is, you're going to say, oh, I know exactly what that engine is. Because it was probably, I think it was the very first glow engine that I bought. If not the first, it was the second. Now, have you had enough suspense? Let's just look at the table and see what I got here. Yes, of course, this is an OS FP engine. And it's so iconic that as soon as you see the box, you know exactly what that engine is. This is the engine that came before that sad excuse for replacement, the LA series, and I know I just offended a ton of people, but I really don't care. I think the FP series is far and away much better than the LA series, not because of performance, not because of looks. I like the looks of the FP series best anyway. It was just, when they made the LA series, they just seemed to soften it and it just looked softer, and I didn't really care for that. Now the construction and all that was probably comparable, it was probably okay, but I never liked that it had a green or a blue engine with a non-blue exhaust. That just turned me off right away. In my opinion, the engine and exhaust need to be the same, or at least very similar, not so dissimilar. Anyway, enough about the LA series and irritating people. So this is an FP series engine. Now, the 40, I just gave it away. This is the 40 FP. Most common size for people entering the hobby, as it was for me, because I entered the hobby using one of these engines. Or if it wasn't the first, it was the second engine. And I can't tell you how many times I broke needle valves on these carbs because I was trying to teach myself how to fly on a Duraplane at that time too. It wasn't a pretty thing. Anyway, this engine series dates back to 1985. Now when I got mine, it was 1988. And the thing that I'm seeing that's odd about this box right off the bat is that it doesn't have the part number on the box, because these always had part numbers. Now that could mean two things. It could mean that this is a really old, an original engine, or it could mean that they just forgot to put a label on the box. I don't know. If I can find a picture of a box that has the label and the part number on there quickly when I'm editing this video, I'll put it up here so you can see what I'm talking about. So the thing that I got that was really interesting about this engine is, A, it's complete. It's maybe packaged as it was from the factory, but let's see. I don't recall exactly. This is what the inside of the contents look like. There was no packing material in here, and quite honestly, I don't remember if the first one I bought had that tissue paper. I don't think they were doing the tissue paper back in '88. I'm not sure. But I know I've seen plenty of these, and they came just like this. So here's our engine, and it's all of its glory. The great 40 FP. Now, I don't know what their designations on here are, but there are two letters stamped on the bottom of this that say CD. Not sure what that means, but this is a pristine example, and it looks like this exhaust bag has never been unstapled. Never been unstapled. So all the contents are in this bag. You've got the two screws and a hex key or the Allen key to tighten the screws down, or to, let's see here. I thought those screws were, yeah, those screws are cross point. So that Allen key is for maintenance on the engine. But, so that's the engine, great, big deal. The most important thing to me about this engine, and this is something that is so rare to find anymore at all, and one of the reasons why I bought this particular engine is because the documentation package has never never been opened. In fact, I don't know, for the purpose of this video and for what I'm trying to do here, I'm going to have to open this, but I really don't want to because this is just incredible. But the reason I feel compelled to open this is because I've mentioned in several other videos before that the marketing literature that's inside there can help determine the actual age and possibly the vintage or of the engine itself, what year it was packaged, what year it came from, because the FP series had a rather long life. I'll have to consult with my OS 1936 to 2020 poster to see all the engines and see when the LA series came out. I can't remember, but even after the LA series came out, I'm pretty sure that they still had either a surplus of FPs or maybe they continued to sell the FP for some overlap period. But I'll get that information. So the thing that's important to me is, I think it's kind of interesting. I didn't bring a glow plug wrench to take the plug out, but that sure as heck looks like a Fox plug. It's tight. I can't recall off the top of my head what plugs came in these engines. So I don't know. But the thing I was getting at was there's two things here that can help me determine the vintage of this engine or the approximate age of this engine, year of manufacture. And one is the marketing literature, and two is the original FP engines built in 85 to, I don't know, 85 for a few years at least, had a cast iron piston. And I've got a video or two on my channel where I actually talk about that. I had an FP engine one time. In fact, I think it was the FP engine that I converted to a diesel. I think that was the engine that had a cast iron piston. And I showed a picture of it on the video where I was picking it up with a magnet, so I just so happen to have a magnet here today. Let's see, I have my knife so I can open up this bag of parts. What I want to do is, I want to validate and try to figure out how old is this engine. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the marketing literature here and see if we can determine something from that, and then we'll take the head off real quick and see if the magnet sticks to the piston top. I don't know, I can't undo this once it's done. It's done. Wow. I'm not so sure how I feel about that really. It's done now. Might as well take all of these contents out so you can see what it would look like coming right, like you just bought it in 1988 to 85, whatever, and you're all excited and you're like, oh man, look at this. Okay, so this might help right here. It says max 10 FP, 15 FP, 20 FP, 25, 35, 40 FP. Now, they didn't all come out in 1985. I know for a fact that. So this pretty much already tells me that this is, I don't know exactly the years that these other engines came out, but I know they didn't all come out at the same time. So that could mean that this is an older model engine. I will say a later model, not an early version, which kind of would suck because I was really kind of hoping to get the cast iron piston one, but we'll find out here. We will definitely find out. So you got our stickers, our template, limited warranty card, all that good stuff. Now, here's the kicker. Here's where we're going to learn something. The OS full lineup of aircraft engines. No, this is not one of those. I can tell right now that this is not one of these cast iron piston engines because, well, maybe I can't. Oh, maybe I can. I don't know. Let's see here. 120 Surpass, FF240 Pegasus. I know the 320. The 320 Pegasus came out in 1988. So that's a good thing. When I first saw this picture, I thought, oh, it's a 320. But it's not. It's a 240, FF240. And that came out earlier. So let's see here. 91 Surpass. I did an earlier new in-box engine video series where the 91 Surpass came out in 1988. So that again tells me that this engine is probably not a cast iron piston sleeve engine because The 91 Surpass came out in 1988. So that kind of sucks. It almost makes me wonder if I should even bother popping the lid off of this thing and checking it, because I can pretty much guarantee you now that this is at least an engine from 1988, 87, probably 88 or later. So that kind of blows the wind out of my sails, but since we've got this here, and I don't really think there's any harm in doing it, let's just pop the head off real quick. Listen. Listen. That's the sound of screws being broken loose straight from the factory. Boy, that really kind of hurts to do this, but I think for the sake of the video and for the curiosity I've piqued in people watching, we're going to have to do this. Now again, this is probably, I think I had mentioned, I wasn't sure what was going to happen with many or several or whatever of these new in-box engines, whether I was going to run them or just sell them, attempt to sell them if somebody's interested, or run them and sell them. This is an engine that is probably not going to, if it was a cast iron piston one, which I'm pretty sure it's not, I would say it's definitely not getting sold. But it's definitely getting run. I mean, how can you have a 40 FP and not run the thing? That's just madness. Okay, so here we go. Let me get way up here, nice and tight. Hopefully my camera will zoom in on this and we will. That's the sleeve. Oh my! Oh wow! So now I have no idea how long. Oh, this is freaking awesome. I have no idea how long they made the cast iron piston. What's that tell you? Does it tell you that that piston is not cast iron or what? It is. Center of the piston, magnet not coming off. Wow. Wow. So I learned something too. And I learned that they made the cast iron piston for longer than I thought, apparently, because like I said, this documentation package shows a 91 Surpass engine. I know for a fact the 91 Surpass came out in 1988 because I just did a video on that, so I know exactly when that came out, came to production. This engine came out in 1985, but I'm pretty sure that after, I had several, I've probably had 4 or 5 40 FPs, and this would be only the second one I've ever had that had a cast iron piston. Now you may say, well, geez, does that mean it's going to take an extended break-in period? Because it's I'm pretty sure, in the original review article, I believe, that's on the Scepter model engine test site, I believe, is from one of the original ones. So I'll have to consult with that. I don't think so, because I think this is still an AB aluminum brass. No, it can't be aluminum brass. Nickel, aluminum. No, because it's a steel sleeve. I don't know. Perhaps this engine will take a slightly different break-in time or break-in period than your AB in one, or what OS like to call, or people like to call the ABC, which is actually not really true. It's AB in. But anyway, so wow, what a pleasant surprise that was. I'm incredibly grateful for that. The only other thing that would make this even better is if the original receipt from the hobby store was in there, because then you would have a date. Definitive purchase. You'd have a definitive purchase date. That doesn't mean manufacture date, because some engines would sit on the shelf, or could sit on the shelf, but when this was in a hobby store, and I believe that this gunk here, which is dried and almost flaky, is a residue from an original hobby store from an original hobby store price gun. And it just seems like they were trying to, whoever did this took this off as possibly just trying to preserve the integrity of the box and have it look pure, which I think actually if there's a hobby store sticker on a box, that's pretty awesome. That's really important in my opinion. Or they just didn't want that to be seen when they were trying to sell this. However, by the flakiness and feel of this, whatever this residue is, it's pretty crusty, so it's been off for a while. So this also may mean that when I find a picture of a box, well, I can find a picture of a box that shows the part number on there. It would seem to indicate that that would be something that was done later than earlier in the manufacturing and release of these engines. So anyway, wonderful find here. 40 FP. What I thought was, it's at least a 1988 vintage engine, but still has a cast iron sleeve, or cast iron piston, which is really awesome. In fact, I think they use a different word in the review article. And it's curious too, because this looks like a Fox plug, which is pretty interesting. So that's the new in-box engine for today's video. And you will be seeing this run without a doubt in the near future. Well, it'll be in the future. I can't say how near it will be because winter is rapidly approaching. But anyway, that's the engine for today, and thank you all for watching.